How does a veteran that's going blind get around the Highland Games? He brings two wolves with him. Highland Games are a mix of music, sports, culture, and community. These unique events take place not only in Scotland, but all around the world. Today's games are in Northern Virginia in a town called The Plains, which is about 47 miles outside of Washington, D.C. The weather was very Scottish. We were rained on almost constantly throughout the day, but it didn't dampen our spirits. Today's goal was to raise awareness and funding for the Blinded Veterans Association. The two wolves that I brought with me are my bagpipe student Roy Wolf and his dad Doug Wolf. They're good friends, and Roy is keen on history and music. He's a multi-instrumentalist. Some of the other instruments he plays well are the piano, the fife, the fiddle, bugle, and cornet. Doug also plays a beautiful parlor guitar, and he's a good accompanist. Roy wore a World War I piper's kit, or uniform. The impact that he had on people was really something to see. The uniform combined with Roy's good demeanor and his thorough knowledge of history really impressed the crowds. Roy wanted to wear this uniform today to represent all the soldiers that were blinded in World War I. Roy and Doug's company today made a huge difference, and I hope to do more fundraising for the Blinded Veterans Association with them. The Wolves have a YouTube channel with some videos of Roy playing. Here are two of my favorites. One of them is memorializing the Battle of the Somme in World War I, and the other one is in regards to Beethoven. You're really going to enjoy it if you take the time to look at these things, I promise. In regards to the blinded soldiers from World War I, a common fate of those exposed to gas was blindness. Chlorine or mustard gas were the main causes. Among these images is one of the most famous World War I paintings called Gassed by John Singer Sargent. It captures a scene of gas casualties that he had witnessed at a dressing station in France. The gas used in that particular battle was tear gas, and it caused temporary blindness and a painful stinging in the eyes. Bandages were normally soaked in water just to provide some sort of pain relief for the casualties. Sargent's painting was inspired by this previous painting by Peter Berger the Elder. The total number of military and civilian casualties in World War I was about 40 million. About 2/3 of military deaths in World War I were in battle. Nevertheless, disease, including the 1918 flu pandemic, where soldiers were held as prisoners of war, still caused about 1/3 of military deaths. Thousands of soldiers were blinded during the war, which inspired programs to help them get back on their feet, such as the British institution St. Dunstan's. My organization, the Blinded Veterans Association, was established in 1945 at the end of World War II. It was started by about 100 veterans who had lost their sight in combat, and they were recovering from their injuries together in an army hospital in Connecticut. The BVA, as it's known, was later chartered by Congress to speak and write on behalf of blinded vets in national legislative affairs. The link for the BVA is below. Based on the Department of Veteran Affairs data, there is estimated to be more than 158,000 veterans in America that suffer from severe vision impairment or blindness. According to the BVA, 13% of wounded U.S. military troops returning from Iraq and Afghanistan have suffered a serious eye injury. In addition, approximately 7,000 veterans become newly blind or visually impaired from non-combat related diseases. That's the category I fall in. Our motto in the BVA is Blinded Veterans, Helping Blinded Veterans. The British and Scots had bagpipers lead the troops into battle long before World War I. It was the piper that came out of the trench, unarmed and playing to inspire the men to move forward. Piper deaths and casualties were so significant that they had to stop this practice. Of the 2,500 pipers involved in the Great War, some 500 were said to be killed, and a further 600 were wounded. Roy takes wearing that uniform that represents them very seriously, and I greatly admire it. As the rain continued to fall, we played on in shifts. There were 2 duty bands at the games who were responsible to pipe in the clans and march around the fields. And when the weather got too heavy, we went under the Morrison tent from the Morrison clan, and we played a few tunes written by the famous Irish blind harper Turla O'Carolan. Here is a link of us playing a tune called Seabeg Seamore, which is in the Irish language, and it translates to Little Hill, Big Hill. Thank you so much to the Morrison clan for your great hospitality, and I hope to see you again next year. The games are also noted for their unique athletic events, which include the heavy games. there are various events that the competitors go through. The most recognizable one is the caber toss. The caber, which is a full-length log, has to be lifted by the competitor, and then they run forward, building momentum up, and then they toss the caber in the air so it turns end over end. The aim is for the caber to land in line with the original run. If it's straight, the toss is said to be in the 12 o'clock position. Competitors are judged on how closely their toss lands to 12 o'clock. And this one looks pretty good. Another competition was the sheaf toss. It originates from one of the most practical and common farm chores, throwing the sheaves of hay up into the barn loft. Traditionally, these contests were held in county fairs, but the sheaf toss has made its way into the Highland Games over the last 100 years or so, becoming a fan favorite. Using a traditional three-pronged hay fork, the athlete attempts to throw the burlap bag stuffed with straw and baling twine over a horizontal bar. Each athlete gets 3 attempts of each increasing height until there's a winner. I really love this one. It was a great yet soggy day at the games. I was visited by great friends and thrilled to have 2 of my daughters at the game. We had a wonderful amount of donations and a lot of interest, as well as sharing good camaraderie. If you'd like to hear more music from Roy and I, here are 2 links of us playing at the games. If you'd like to hear my album, Starting to See, which is on BandCamp, 100% of those profits go to the Blinded Veterans Association. 100%. The link is below. It would be great if you liked and subscribed, but more importantly, I'd really love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Thanks for watching. Keep going.